Allah lets you feel empty and dissatisfied with everything else so that you don't depend too much on those things. Sins are supposed to make you feel miserable, and pointless pursuits are meant to make you feel like something is missing. So your soul sends signals to you constantly saying, I'm incomplete without something greater. One of my favorite names of Allah, if not my favorite name, is As-Samad. And it's so deep because as you're reading through Surah Al-Ikhlas, every other ayah is so self-explanatory. But the name As-Samad is at the heart of it, and it's a complete mystery to most Muslims. As-Samad means the one who is whole, not hollow. He's completely self-sufficient, not dependent on anything, and he has no spaces or gaps. So the scholars mention that this means he has no organs inside, and he's not made of parts, so he can't disintegrate. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He doesn't give birth, nor is he begotten, because he doesn't come out of anything else, and nothing else goes into him. And that means he's the perfect refuge for you and the only thing that can make you feel whole, because he's completely free of need himself. Think of angels not needing food or drink, but even they're still created beings that function within some sort of an ecosystem. As-Samad does not need what needers need, and nothing is like him or possible without him. Even his names are so perfectly whole and connected to one another. And all this makes him the one supreme, uncompromised refuge. And here's the thing. You were made to feel empty so that you would run back to As-Samad, the fulfilling one. Because everything other than him will leave you feeling unfulfilled, even if it's a blessing, by the way. A job will give you income, but not necessarily meaning. A relationship will give you companionship, but not completion. Fame will give you attention, but not validation. Wealth will give you comfort, but not purpose. Every created thing has a limit, and the moment you reach that limit, you feel it. There's a void that returns. And then you're frustrated because you worked so hard for something thinking that it would fulfill you, but it didn't. I want you to think of this image that projects us in pieces onto him, the whole. When you turn to him who has no disintegration, you start feeling yourself fulfilled and coming together. Life starts making more sense, and you start connecting dots. And the moment you turn away from him, you start falling into pieces again, and you have no inner peace inside. You're not feeling fulfilled, and you can't connect the dots. Which brings me to the next name. Allah is Al-Hakk, the one who speaks the truth, the one who promises the truth, but the one who is also truth himself. Everything connected to him is truth, and everything disconnected from him is batil, in that it's meaningless. أَلَا كُلُّ شَيْءٍ مَا خَلَى اللَّهَ بَاطِلٌ. Verily, everything pursued other than Allah is vain. It's like a poetic paraphrase of the ayah in the Quran, كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ. Everything will perish except for him. And the scholars mention that includes what was done for his sake. So everything detached from Allah, every false god, false pursuit, or fleeting joy is batil in that it's hollow and temporary. Only things connected to him have true value. And you want to know that what you're doing has meaning, that your sacrifices aren't for nothing, that everything you're going through is leading you to somewhere. But the dunya deceives by nature. It's a world of false promises. The degree doesn't guarantee purpose, the promotion doesn't guarantee peace, the marriage doesn't guarantee joy. Everything in this dunya tells you initially, I'm enough, and then you realize it really isn't. So Allah promises you no more emptiness, no more meaningless pursuits. Just like Al-Hadi rewards guidance with more guidance, think of Al-Hakk in a way that connects one truth to the next, so that you're only pursuing things that make sense and have promising results. Listen to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and think of this like the truth roadmap. Allahumma anta al-haqq, wa wa'duka al-haqq, wa qawluka al-haqq, wa liqa'uka haqq, wal jannatu haqq, wal naru haqq, wal nabiyyuna haqq, wa Muhammadun sallallahu alayhi wa sallam haqq. O Allah, you are the truth, and your promise is truth, and your word is truth, and your meeting is truth, and paradise is truth, and the hellfire is truth, and the prophets are truth, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is truth. Okay, follow along. Once you come to know that Allah is true, that that He exists and that He's very real and not some abstract idea, but the Creator who brought you here with a purpose, then you trust that His promise is true. Because if He's real, then what He says will happen is also real. And then that means that His word is true. So that means every lesson or story in the Quran is not some myth or metaphor, but it's to point you to an ultimate reality. What's that ultimate reality? It's you being resurrected and standing in front of El-Hakk, where He will ask you about everything you did. And one of the names of the Day of Judgment is El-Hakk. And so then that means that His promise of paradise or hellfire after the Day of Judgment is also true. And then that means that what the prophets were saying all along was true. And then they all pointed to the Prophet ﷺ as the prophet to come with a truth that would never be extinguished again. So Muhammad ﷺ was sent in truth. If you notice, every truth unlocks the next truth and then puts steam in your purpose and pursuit. But here's the flip side. The opposite of this is sin. If the reward of a good deed is that Allah allows you to do another good deed and then start connecting dots, then the punishment of a sin is spiritual claustrophobia. You get stuck in sin. The path keeps getting narrow and you feel completely trapped. And even if it's not sin, but just empty worldly pursuit, it still feels like you're suffocating because you have no spiritual oxygen. If you're living in a mansion but don't know why you're here, no square footage is going to make you feel better. So when the Prophet ﷺ would say, وَوَسِّعْ لِي فِي دَارِي, grant me expanse in my home, he didn't mean widen my home. He meant widen my perspective with barakah and clarity. So remember Rabi' ibn Amr in front of the ruler of Persia? One of the things he said was, we're here to take you min dhiq ad-dunya ila sa'at ad-dunya wal-akhirah, from the constriction of this world to the expanse of this world and the next. So the truth is spiritual vastness, which brings us to the final name, El-Wasi', the vast, the limitless. Allah is vast in every way. He has no scarcity. He doesn't run out. The word wus'a in the Arabic language refers to capacity, how much something can hold. And Allah's capacity is infinite. No matter how many people call on Him at once, He hears every single voice. No matter how many people ask Him at once, He doesn't run out of mercy to give us. He also doesn't run out of patience with us. Everything and everyone else runs out. You run out of energy. You run out of patience. You run out of ideas. You get bored with your blessings, and even if you don't, the blessings are limited in some way and eventually expire. But Allah never does. He is the divine expander. And science will even tell you that the universe somehow expands every day. That's Al-Wasi', as Al-Khallaq is still creating. And when you walk to His door, He expands for you. He expands your knowledge so you're connecting it all and seeing what others can't see. He expands your capacity so you can take on bigger tasks that not everyone else can. He expands your blessings in ways that you're always pleased with a little, but you see it as a lot. Life is never dull with Allah because there's always more to pursue of His vastness. And the opposite of someone stuck in the narrow path of sin is someone addicted to the vastness of good. You can't get enough of Him. And He always has more to give you. So a student is never satisfied, nor is a worshiper. But it's not that they're disappointed. It comes from the excitement of knowing that Allah's vast ocean never runs out of pearls for you to collect. And that's another vastness Allah speaks of, the vastness of His revelation. قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَذَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. Say, if the ocean were ink for writing the words of my Lord, the sea would be exhausted before the words of my Lord would be exhausted, even if we brought the like of it as a supplement. Remember the story of Musa and Al-Khadr? The Prophet ﷺ says that as they boarded a ship and Al-Khadr is surprising Musa ﷺ with all of his knowledge of Allah's decree that he was trying to grasp for the first time, they board the ship and a bird lands right on the edge of the ship and it starts to peck water out of the ocean. Al-Khadr looks to Musa ﷺ and says, Ya Musa, my knowledge and your knowledge compared to Allah's knowledge is nothing more than like what this bird just took from the ocean. Now the last thing I'll say about this is that think of how you learn in Ramadan how restricting yourself actually opens you up to Allah's vastness. That doesn't mean that the truth doesn't come with inconvenience. There's no way around that. Praying Fajr is hard. Lowering your gaze is tough. Giving up interest and usury might mean a financial loss. Wearing hijab might mean standing out in ways that make you uncomfortable. Fasting on a hot day is exhausting. Praying in public or just 5 times a day period is disrupting. So yes, truth restricts your lower self, but that very restraint opens up a world that you otherwise could not access. In that restriction, there's vastness. And you may see people who appear to be living so happy in their unrestricted lives. But what if they're actually empty because the lie, no matter how comfortable, will always eventually strangle you? And the truth, no matter how uncomfortable at first, will always open you up. There are people suffocating in their mansions, choked by their wealth, trapped by their liberating sins, and captured by their never fulfilled or never fulfilling desires. Every sacrifice you make for Allah is going to have a higher yield. Everything you give for Him will be given back to you in more. Every restriction is temporary and replaced by a promised permanent reward. That's why the angels say to those who didn't make hijrah, Alam takun ardullahi wasi'a? Wasn't Allah's earth vast? And the Prophet ﷺ said, the true hijrah is leaving off what Allah forbade. Wasn't the path of Allah expansive enough for you to not fall into that narrow pothole of sin? You don't have to fall into that sin. There's room to move, room to breathe, room to grow. And when you do fall, you simply return back to As-Samad for wholeness, to Al-Hakk for meaning, and to Al-Wasi for space to grow again. Return after tasting the emptiness of sin. And Allah promises that you'll have a Lord waiting for you to forgive you once again. Ya Samad, the one who needs nothing while everything needs you. Make me whole by depending only on you. Fill the hollowness inside of me until no desire within me competes with your glory. Ya Hakk, make your truth the anchor of my heart and my guiding path to your light. Let every lie I chase collapse before your reality, and every truth I seek lead me to your next promise. Keep me grounded in what endures, and turn my eyes away from what deceives. Ya Wasi', expand my heart to hold more gratitude, my patience to endure with more grace, and my vision to see beyond my limits. Let me find expanse in your vastness when the world around me starts to feel small.
وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا